whenever it gets complicated, people are like, what's the one hack that you could do? I always revert back to be like, actually, the elite performers that I know in all disciplines, sports, special forces, elite business leaders, whatever it is, they just do the basics really, really well and really, really consistently. There's no shortcuts. There's no real biohacks. Like
Hmm.
they go to bed at the same time every night.
What's up, guys? I'm Simon Young, and I'm the host of the Optimized podcast. Like a lot of you guys in the audience, I'm a student right now, and I'm still trying to figure out how to juggle working out with getting enough sleep, eating well, and still doing well enough in my exams. And that's in part why I started this podcast. Like a lot of other students, I went online to try to find information on how to optimize my schedule and my learning and my time in the gym. And I found that there's a lot of misinformation on the internet that's misleading a lot of people. So the reason I started this podcast is to go straight to the source of where all the accurate information comes from, the scientists. So in this podcast, I talk to a lot of scientists, a lot of fitness experts, a lot of people much smarter than myself. And I discuss with them ways about how we can learn better, uh, optimize our sleep, perform better in the gym, and overall live happier, healthier lives. So whether you're a student or not, I think there's a lot we can learn from the guests I bring onto this podcast. In this episode, I had the chance to talk to Dr. Greg Wells. He's a scientist who's well known in his field, and he's done a lot of research into exercise science. He also works with professional athletes to help dial in their routines for better performance. I'll put a link to his website and also his new book release in the description. I would definitely recommend checking out both of them. In this episode, I was given the chance to talk to him about topics such as how to get better sleep, practical ways you can increase your nutrition, and how to make small changes to build big changes in your life over time. Near the end of the episode, we also talked about the ever so precious work-life balance. I thought he had something very important to say about it. I'll leave timestamps to all these topics in the video, of course. You can skip around to whichever topic you need, but I would recommend listening to the full episode because I had a lot to learn from him over the full course of the half hour. I hope you guys enjoy listening to the episode as much as I enjoyed making it, and without further ado, let's begin. Starting off, what do you do right now, and what got you into it? What keeps you going?
So right now, I've got a bunch of different aspects of my life. I am an author, so I write books. My new book just came out a couple weeks ago, so that's one of the things that I do. It's called Powerhouse, in case anyone's interested. I also have a podcast that goes out every couple weeks. That's a big piece of the puzzle. I have an app company that I'm running. It's called Vivio, Viivio. It's for Apple Watch. It tracks your sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mindset, and then uses AI to give you individualized health tips. So that's pretty big, especially in this era of artificial intelligence. I still have a research practice at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, where we do exercise medicine for children with cancer and cystic fibrosis. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. In addition to public speaking, I probably do public speaking events once or twice a week. But ultimately, what I do and what my unique ability is, I think, is to take science and make it understandable for people. So whether that's books, speaking, apps, or whatever, I'm really good at taking physiology,
Mm-hmm.
breaking it down, and saying, okay, based upon this research, here's what you should do to be healthier. That's ultimately what I do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what got you started into doing that?
When I was 15, I was swimming for the
Mm-hmm.
Canadian youth team.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, it was pretty great and awesome and fun. And we were down in Florida at a training
Mm-hmm.
camp. I was playing in the waves with my buddies, and a big wave picked me up and dropped me on my head, and I ended up breaking my neck.
That's great. What?
Yeah, it was
That
nuts.
that sounds like it hurts.
Yeah,
Ooh,
remarkably, it didn't hurt nearly as much as you would think, which is why
really?
it took me like 3 or 4 hours to get to the hospital because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think it was that bad. But once I got there and they did the X-rays, then it was 3 months in traction, neurosurgery, 3 months of rehab, all that sort of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I ended up getting back into swimming and swam all the way through college, which was great. Didn't get to the level that most of my friends made it. Did they all made the Olympics? I didn't. I'm almost over it, but not quite. But that sparked my interest in physiology. So then I
Mm-hmm.
took kinesiology in my undergrad, and it just carried on from there. So if there was like one moment in my life that made me appreciate and want to understand the human body a lot better, it was probably starting when I was 15.
All right, thank you. And then we'll just move on to the next question now. So a lot of your work centers on using science to boost our performance. Uh, I know that you do a lot of like consulting with companies that want to boost their employees' performance, and a lot of our listeners are students who want to boost their performance in school and also in sports. So, uh, so the question I have is, what do you think is the biggest performance booster that a lot of people miss out on nowadays? Like, what's the one thing you think everyone should have in their routine that a lot of people don't?
Right. I think the place to start is with sleep, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. And we know that sleep is critical for the brain. When we sleep, the lymphatic system works to
Mm-hmm.
wash the brain tissue and clear out bacteria, broken down cells, waste products, all those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're sleeping well, your brain is going to be as optimal as it possibly can be. We know that if you sleep well, you learn better. If you sleep well, you're more creative, you problem solve better, you control leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that control your appetite and satiety, so you make better decisions around food. You release growth hormone, which heals, repairs, and regenerates tissues in your body. So if you do a hard workout and then you get a good night's sleep, your muscles actually adapt. Whereas if you don't sleep well, they don't. And so sleep for me is the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
We know that sleep's associated with longevity, how long you live, but also with health span, how long you live without a chronic disease, as well as mental health, depression, anxiety. So it's critical in this era. But then if you get a good night's sleep, you're quite likely to make better decisions around food. And so when you say like what's the one thing, I actually think it's being holistic in your approach. Sleep is important, but then that
Mm-hmm.
allows you make good decisions around food. Lots of veggies, eat the rainbow, as organic as you can afford, no junk food, right? Like we're just trying to eat as healthy as we can. And then that then enables you, if you've had a good night's sleep and you've eaten good food, to have more energy. And if you have more energy, then guess
Mm-hmm.
what? You can do a good workout. And if you have a good workout, walk, run, jog, swim, bike, paddle, lift, yoga, don't care what it is, and be anything. But if you are able to move your body during the course of the day to get a little bit of physical activity or exercise, then all of a sudden, guess what happens? You think better, you're focused better, you learn better, you concentrate better, and your mental health improves. And then if you've done all of that, you end up at the end of your day happy because you've crushed it. And it's easy to fall asleep because you've had a big day, right? And then the whole thing cycles over again. So I like to create an upward spiral of wellness. And whether that's for elite athletes, elite business people, musicians, drama, sports, music, like science, it's all the same. Everyone has a body and it works in a very consistent way across all of those different disciplines. So it's basically sleep, eat, move, think, a holistic approach to life. Start with sleep, build onto your nutrition, build in exercise, and then everything mental will follow along from there.
So I'm hearing sort of like a pyramid with sleep at the bottom, and then, or is it more like they all matter equally?
No, I actually think that you're right. It's a
Mhm.
pyramid for sure. I love that analogy. I also think of it in terms of just like a wheel, right? The hubs of the wheel, and you start rolling and moving forwards. But yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I like the pyramid analogy because you're right. Sleep is the
Mhm.
foundation and everything builds upon that.
Right. So a lot of people know like the basics about sleep. Like I know you've talked about not getting like a ton of blue light right before sleep, not hitting like a crazy workout before you try to go to bed. Is there anything like that a lot of people don't talk about that you think could be improving your sleep that people miss out on?
I think that doing the basics right is the way to win. So
Hmm.
you already mentioned blue light, for example. Like blue
Yeah.
light's awesome in the morning, helps you to wake up. It's great. Like that's why the sun comes up in the morning. When you go outside and get real
Hmm.
light into your eyes first thing in the morning, it makes you feel better, clears your head, you're ready to go for the day. But in the evenings, you want to replicate you want to replicate the sunset, right? And do a digital sunset as well. So turning off the devices, getting off your screens, just giving your brain a chance to recover, like to decompress and to deactivate. That way, when you fall asleep, you stay asleep. That's the goal, right? You want to be able to like get into bed, relax, calm down, and then fall asleep and to stay asleep. Consistent bedtime would be another one that works really, really well. Going to bed at the same time every single night makes it easy for your body to know when to release melatonin so that when you fall asleep, you actually stay asleep. That's huge. Blackout blinds are a good tactic. Cover up your alarm clock light. Take off your watch and your phone and all that sort of stuff. Like cover all that stuff up. And then keeping your bedroom cool, like about 19 degrees Celsius seems to be roughly the best temperature for people to sleep at. So
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do around improving the quality of your sleep. But really, whenever it gets complicated, people are like, what's the one hack that you could do? I always revert back to be like, actually, the elite performers that I know in all disciplines, sports, special forces, elite business leaders, whatever it is, they just do the basics really, really well and really, really consistently. There's no shortcuts. There's no real biohacks. Like
Mhm.
they go to bed at the same time every night. They
Mhm.
do they do good workouts. Actually, you mentioned working out and sleep. So exercise we know improves sleep quality. Strength
Mhm.
training specifically improves sleep quality as well. Um, but if you do a workout later in the evening, then you need to finish with a shower that is cool to cold because you want your body temperature to be a little bit lower than what it is during the course of the day. That helps us to release melatonin a little bit better. And we want your heart rate to be below 60 beats per minute because that facilitates you falling asleep. So you want to be physically calm and mentally calm as well. So if you've done that evening workout, you've played some
Mhm.
sports at night, whatever, but finish with a cool to cold shower. And then when you get home, read fiction, do some meditation, right? Anything along those lines, just to decompress and deactivate your body
Mhm.
and your mind, and you'll be able to fall asleep fairly quickly and hopefully stay asleep as well.
All right. So you mentioned meditation a little bit. It's one of those things where I feel like every scientist they talk about it and they do it, but I feel like I don't really hear about many like people doing it. Like a lot of athletes, they don't really do. I know a lot of my friends, they don't meditate, which
Right.
so I was wondering like do you think it's something that's worth for everyone doing or just like monks and elite like athletes, you
I think that the benefits are amazing for everybody. It's one of
know?
those practices. It's like 3,000 years old. So if something stuck around for 3,000 years, you know that there's probably something to it. Meditation being one, like yoga being another. Like there's all sorts of biohacks that come and go within a year, and like they're not
Mhm.
sticking around. But the core foundational ones absolutely do. Meditation is just simply a practice of being aware of your and having your attention here in the present moment.
Mhm.
And so it's basically focus and concentration, right? Mindfulness is just your ability, is your thinking is here now. Like that's it. Your attention is in the present moment. That's mindfulness. Meditation is the practice of allowing your mind to wander, noticing it, and then bringing it back into the present moment. So it's sort of like weightlifting for your brain. And the first time that you try it, your mind's going to be all over the place. And you're like, I'm terrible at
Mhm.
meditation. But in fact, the simple fact that you sat there and you were aware that your mind was going all over the place, that is meditation. And then over time, you realize that most of the thoughts that you have are just they're thoughts. They're not you. They're just noise. And you start to become aware that you're like, you notice them, but they're no longer you. And then you can pick and choose which thoughts you want to pursue and which ones you just let go of, which is super helpful for controlling your attention and directing your attention to where you want it to go. And that way your energy goes where you want it to go. And wherever your attention goes, your energy flows and then growth happens. So it's almost like you could meditate, and the practice then enables you to focus better when you're studying for exams or in the middle of a test or in a job interview. You don't get distracted and you don't find that your mind is wandering, but you're staring into the eyes of the person who is interviewing you and they think that you're super intense and focused. They love you and they hire you. So I realize that it's something that athletes are trained to do. It is definitely
Mhm.
something that monks do as part of their core practice. Elite business leaders, many are now doing this as a fundamental tool. But I also know, like, I spend a ton of time with students and we're struggling. Like, you guys are struggling. You're tired. There's so many people struggling with mental health. And we know that meditation helps your brain to recover and regenerate so you have more mental energy. We know that meditation can be used to help people with depression. Meditation can absolutely be used to help people with anxiety. And so, if you want to feel better, if you want your mind to be what you want it to be, positive, happy, and it doesn't, you're not going to be happy all the time, but
Mhm.
like, more towards the positive side of things. And I think meditation is a core practice. It doesn't have to be sitting there doing chanting. Um, but if you want to try like Headspace or Calm, those are two really good apps. 10% Happier is another amazing one. But you can also do stuff like drawing, journaling, listening to music, going for a walk without your device, staring at the trees, going for a paddle, going for a swim. Like, it doesn't have to be meditation per se. You're just bringing your attention into the present moment, becoming aware of your mind in that present moment, and directing your attention back into what you're doing. And I think that's something that applies to everyone at any stage of life. My 8-year-old son for the last 3 years has been doing meditation pretty consistently, and it's enabled him, I think, to get through COVID with like no real major, you know, issues, despite a lot of his little friends having some
Mhm.
significant challenges after what they've all been through over the last few years.
So definitely something we should all be doing, right?
Highly recommend it. Like, I
Mhm.
started very consistently in 2016, which is quite a while ago now.
Mm.
And I believe that it's like completely revolutionized my mindset. It's enabled me to deconstruct a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Like, I think it's a core skill for people who are interested in doing their best in their lives. Yes,
Mhm.
I would highly recommend that you explore it. No judgment. There's no good or bad. It's just a practice. Sometimes you're good,
Mhm.
sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're super focused and you have this existential experience, and other times your mind's racing all over the place and you're like, what's on my to-do list? Or, man, I need to go get some groceries, or this is stupid, what am I doing, right? The monkey mind is active, but ultimately you're just practicing and you're just strengthening your mind, and we know that you're strengthening your brain, and we know that ultimately you're going to end up in a better place if you practice it, because it's just one of those core skills that humans
Mhm.
have been doing for thousands of years.
So, where do you think is a good place to start for most people?
um, the easiest way to start is go for a walk,
Mhm.
turn off the notifications on your device, or even better, leave it at home.
Mhm.
Go for a walk and just notice what's around you. Like, that's it. Like, look at the
That's it?
trees. That's it. That's it. That's all you're doing. It's so simple. Just notice what's around you. If you're in a city and you go for a walk outside, just check out the people, look at the trees, look at what's in the stores, look at the way people ride their bikes. Like, just be present and bring your attention into the present moment. That is literally a meditative practice. And that's an easy way to start. And you might notice a whole bunch of stuff that you've never seen before. Like, another one is to look at your hand, and just look at your hand in such a way like, I wonder if there's anything here that I've never noticed about my. Try to find something on your hand you've never seen before. That's bringing your attention into the present moment. That's a practice that's meditative. Playing music is wonderful. If anyone, if you
Mhm.
have an instrument that you play, that's incredible. Doodling is another one. I've got some book here. I don't know where it went, but like a adult coloring book. I've got one of those, which is super helpful. It's actually, anyway. So yeah, there's loads of different ways that you can do it, but that's just a great way to start. Go for a walk and leave your device at home and just look at around and see what's going on, and you'll notice all sorts of really cool stuff.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, start small and then just build up over time.
Simon, you cannot start small enough with all of the stuff that we're talking about.
Mhm.
Like, there's such a pressure in today's world that we've got to do so much, or you've got to like overhaul your life, or like revolutionize this, or
Mhm.
whatever. And honestly, like, you cannot start small enough when it comes to all of the things that I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Like, if you think you're going to do 15 minutes of meditation a day, do 3 minutes. If you want to start a new workout program, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, go for a 15-minute walk. Like, you
Mhm.
cannot do a small enough amount of these positive changes, because they're really, really hard to stick with. Changing your habits is really, really difficult. It requires a huge amount of effort and energy. And so, if you can do little tiny things consistently over time, that's how we win. That's how you make the changes that actually stick, that enable you to improve your life. So yeah, start really, really small, but be very, very consistent. That's the game.
Mhm. I know that with going to the gym when I started, a lot of my friends they told me to pick like a really simple training program, like only go
Yeah.
once a week at like the most convenient time, and then don't even worry about getting big. Just pick an exercise, enjoy it, and then over time you fall in love with the process. Keep coming back. You
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what we recommend for
Mhm.
people. Don't worry about anything. Just go, have fun, do something that you like. Don't even worry about it. No outcomes, process only. And
Mhm.
that is the mindset that you just described is exactly the mindset that helps you win.
All right. What I am a little worried about though is how do you think we could go about balancing this with a lot of our study routines? Because I know right now it's AP week, and a lot of my friends are like pulling like all-nighters for a week in a row, staying up
Right.
at night. Uh, where do you think we can sort of like cram in these little moments of, mindfulness and stay consistent with our sleep schedule, even when we are getting busy?
Look, there's going to be times during your life when you're super busy and times when you're
Mm-hmm.
less busy. So, what I look at when it comes to balance is that you're not going to have balance on any given day, maybe not in any given week, maybe not in any given month, but over the course of a year, you are balanced, right? So, let's say it's
Mm-hmm.
your advanced placement exams, and you know that for the next 10 days, you're going to be studying a lot. You're not going to get a ton of sleep. But then afterwards, you're going to take a couple weeks and recover and regenerate. So, in that time, we're not staying up all night. We're sleeping
Mm-hmm.
in, going to the gym, catching up, right? So there's times when I'm on like flat out. The past 6 days, I think I've been on 8 different flights in 5 different cities. Like I'm definitely have not
It's
slept
jet lag
well over
must,
like
yeah,
I'm not feeling
jet lag must be wild.
it like absolutely when you're
Mhm.
zipping back and forth across North America, you can cross a lot of time zones. North America is big. And so as a result, you're working, you're doing your thing, you're performing, and that's my moment, right? This is what I do and I love doing it. I'm really lucky to have this job.
Mhm.
But now that it's over and this interview is actually the end of that stretch, I am going to go to bed really early tonight. And I have nothing until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I am taking the morning off, probably going to watch a movie.
That
Right.
sounds amazing. Are
I
are you
am,
gonna like hop into bed as soon as this
oh,
ends?
yeah, we're done. It's like right
Oh,
there. I can see it. My dog's already there. I got the iPad queued up with a show. Like I'm done as soon as we get off this call. Actually, I got one more call to do before that. But so like there's balance is achieved over time, not at any one given moment. So consider that. Like it's okay to work hard, totally fine. But then afterwards, we're gonna decompress, recover,
mhm,
regenerate, and catch back up again. Um, and that gives you a little bit of permission to be like, you know what, it's okay. I got a bad night's sleep, no big deal. I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna catch up tomorrow. What we often say to the kids that we take to the Olympics, that the young athletes that we take to the Olympics, is that you're not going to sleep well the night before your performance.
mhm,
You're going to be nervous. The athletes' village is loud. You're probably going to get woken up, and that's totally okay. It's no big deal because you've slept well for the 6 months leading into the games. You're in a good place.
mhm,
The problems emerge when you don't sleep well for 6 months leading into the Olympics, and then it's not, and you get. I would rather you have a 6 months of good sleep and then one night of no sleep before you race
mhm,
rather than 6 months of disrupted sleep and then sleep awesome the night before your race, because that's what's who's winning that battle. Since it's the same thing with
mhm,
nutrition. Everyone's like, what do I eat on the day of my marathon? It's like, I really don't care. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you ate in the 6 months before the marathon, right? So there's like pre-workout nutrition. Doesn't matter. Consistency is what matters over time. And then if you have a little bit of time here and there that things are disrupted, don't worry about it. That's okay. That's life. It's going to happen. But then get back on as soon as you're finished.
mhm. So for our AP students losing sleep, it's like don't beat yourself up too much. Just get back on the train once the 2 weeks are over.
Yeah. And remember that you're sort of like the bare minimum. The best amount of sleep is like 7 to 8 hours,
Mhm,
5 sleep cycles, 90 minutes each. Teenagers probably need one extra sleep cycle. That's 9 hours. But the minimum that you need, this is really important for students.
mhm,
Whatever you accumulate in your brain during the course of the day gets encoded into your brain so that you can remember it at night while you sleep.
mhm,
That happens in the first 3 sleep cycles, which are 90 minutes each. So if you're studying, you want to make sure that it gets into your brain and that you can recall it the next day. The absolute bare minimum is 2 sleep cycles, 3 hours, ideally 3 cycles, 4.5. So if you can sneak in 4.5 hours of sleep a night, you're probably going to be able to function reasonably well the next day. You're not going to live a long time if you do that for a long period of time. Like it's unsustainable and it's not healthy. And you're not getting creativity or problem solving at that point. You're just like literally in survival mode. Plus, you can recall what happened yesterday. So your bare minimum during your AP would be like 3, maybe ideally four and a
mhm.
half, and then we're back up into that 9 hours as soon as your exam period is over.
All right. So you can get by on 4 hours, but it's just like
for a very
totally
short
not
period of
good.
time. It's not good. And it's 4.5 hours, 90-minute cycle. So like 90 minutes, 3 hours, 4.5. That's how I would set it up if I were you.
All right, thank you. I'll definitely remember that one.
All right, on.
Yep. All right, so moving on to our next question. So this is a topic you touched on earlier, which is nutrition. And I know that a lot of people, they know what to eat, like a lot of greens, big variety of foods, but the problem is they don't really have time to prepare it all. So I was wondering, like, when you're in a pinch, are there any food recommendations you have that are easy to prepare quickly and also very good diet options?
My grab and go tos during the day are nuts,
Nuts.
berries, and chopped veggies.
Hmm.
So I will grab a Ziploc, take a couple handfuls of nuts, throw them in there, grab a half pint of blueberries, and I'm good to go. Like that's my snacks. If I can
Hmm.
also get a couple Ziplocs full of chopped up yellow pepper, red pepper, green pepper, carrots, that type of stuff, that's also grab and go. I take those three things with me and I'm good for the day. The other tactic that I use a lot is Judith, my wife, will pre-cook a couple days ahead of time. So like on Sunday night, cook a ton of food. That keeps you going for a couple days. So instead of cooking like 2 chicken breasts, we'll cook 6 and then chop them all up, stick them in Ziplocs or in Tupperware, throw them in the fridge. And then Monday night, that's a stir fry. Tuesday morning, that's an omelet or something like that,
Hmm.
right? So you're trying to just like make it easy and fast and make success inevitable by controlling your environment and
Hmm.
enable you to make good decisions easily, quickly. If there's lots of healthy
Right.
food around, you're going to eat the healthy food. If there's junk food around, you're going to eat the junk food, probably when you're tired and stressed,
Mm.
right? So pre-cook, pre-organize, make it easy. But my grab and goes are nuts, berries, and chopped veggies.
For chopped veggies, is that, do you
Like,
just like chop carrots, put it in a bag?
yep, super simple. If I've got hummus in
Right.
the fridge, I'll grab a tin of hummus too.
Ooh, hummus.
Oh, it's so
Nice.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, hummus is amazing. I live off that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess for the last question, it's we got like 4 minutes left, so I guess we'll just try to wrap up with this one. So where do you think the balance is between junk food and health food? Because I know a lot of people don't want to give up anything that isn't like, green and lean and like nuts and berries, but where do you
Yeah.
think where do you think we find that happy balance if there is one?
You got to live the healthiest life you can and still enjoy
Hmm.
yourself, right? Like if you are perfectly healthy but miserable, then that's not really going to help you that much. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you got to I take my kids for ice cream every once in a while. It's no big
Mm.
deal. I was trying to not keep it in the house because if it's in the house, I eat it all. So it can't be here all the time. It's like it's a treat, not something that's part of the daily routine. And the other thing that really helps is that we don't want to say like black or white, like yes or no extremes, because it just simply doesn't work. What we simply think about is like more of and less than.
Mhm.
So broadly speaking, in your diet, could you be, generally speaking, eating slightly more veggies? Yeah, I could probably put in some more veggies here and there, and that's awesome. Could you eat a little bit less junk food? Yeah, I could probably eat a little bit less junk food. Then great. So we're not trying to like make it extreme in any way. We're not saying like never have chips, but if you have chips every day, then maybe you go down to like 6 days. You take one day a week off chips. That's an improvement. It's not where it's ideal, but it's better, right? So we're just simply
Mhm.
looking to be better. We're just simply thinking in terms of a little bit more of and a little bit less than. My dear friend, Dr. John Berardi, who ran Precision Nutrition, recently sold that company, but they're like my go-to source for healthy nutrition information on the web. They're amazing. His idea was basically like 90% of the time, try to be good.
Mhm.
And if you think that you're eating 4 to 5 times a day, or if you're eating 3 times a day, that means like every day or two, or every 3 days, like every couple days, every 3 days, 2 or 3 days, have a treat. Like no big deal. It's totally fine, and don't
Mhm.
stress out about it. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, just a little bit more of the healthy stuff, a little bit less of the not so healthy stuff, and every few days, like whatever, have something and don't worry about it. But just you're just nudging things in a positive direction.
So it's like what you were talking about before, as long as like your overall, like you said, 6 months versus the night right before, as long as the trend overall is generally upwards, then a little dip is fine, right?
100%.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, look, at the end of your AP exams, if you want to go have pizza with your buddies, absolutely do it and really enjoy it and get some outstanding pizza that tastes fantastic. But maybe the next day, have a salad at lunch. You're going to make up for it. So it's all good.
Right. Uh, well, thanks for coming on.
Simon, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Like, I will do anything I can to help you out. If anyone has any questions, my
Mhm.
website's drgregwells.com. Flip them. There's a contact page. Flip me a note. Be super
Yeah.
happy to answer anybody's questions, especially if you just mentioned that you heard me on this podcast, because I know you guys are studying hard and doing really cool things, and you're all going to go off and have amazing, fabulous careers. So if I can help you on that road, then I'm super thrilled to do it.
All right. I'll link everything in the description of the video as well.
Right
So,
on.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Have a good
Thanks
day.
so much. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.